one of the principles of permaculture is high yields at small scale, which is exactly what we do in like small scale farming.
Yeah.
Market gardening is exactly that. And people tend to think that, oh, you're doing like market gardening with greenhouses and stuff like that, and that's not permaculture. When you read actually the book, which is from Bill Mollison, the PDC, it says clearly, small garden close to your where you live,
zone 1
or zone 2, and then around would be zone 3 with fruit trees, or zone 4 with other trees. And people like forget this.
You know what their number one pest is? Crabs.
Wow.
They're just like everywhere, and they're kind of poking the veggies.
Global warming is not the biggest problem. It's the loss of biodiversity. It's like ecosystems that can't function anymore, because this is going to be quicker, way quicker than global warming. The soil, okay? Soil is what, 60 centimeters? Without that small sheet on the surface of the earth, there's no life.
There's no life.
There's no life. Come on, you want to lose that?
Thierry, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
You've met Chris already.
Yes.
Earlier, and obviously we're good friends.
Yeah.
Thierry is from Polynesia, and he's just a great guy. He's a great farmer now too. He's been farming for 6, 7, 8 years now already.
Yes. Well, the project started 10 years ago.
10 years ago, already.
And yeah.
And I was at your place in 5, 6 years ago, before COVID. Was it
2017?
Right? 2017.
No, 2019.
2019,
right before
yeah.
COVID.
Yeah,
right
just before COVID.
Yeah.
I went with my family, and then we stayed 3 weeks at his place, an amazing, beautiful spot. And we connected in France because he received an award for the work that he was doing in Polynesia, around Tahiti. And we met there and we started to talk. And then I was telling him that I'm a kind of like a poser surfer. Like I always think about surfing, talk about surfing, but he's like, yeah, I surf big waves.
No.
Yeah,
I never say that.
Yeah, you said that.
But you live where you can surf.
Yeah, and I probably took it out of him, but that's what I heard. It's like, okay, this guy surfs big waves. And that's how we connected, and I got excited. And then he was obviously more excited about the farming part, and that's also what got us together. But a visit to your place was really, really nice. And your operation is something else. And every time that we talk and you mention what you're doing now, there's always another layer and another layer. That's pretty impressive, man. It is.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's fun. I mean, the whole thing is so fun. It's my first passion, like you said, surfing.
Yeah.
But that's my second becoming first passion.
Yeah.
Farming. It's
Yeah, there's something to it, to be involved in something that has, I don't want to compare surfing with anything, because I think surfing is this, but like the farming aspect, you're also building something. You're building community, you're building a business, you're building awareness, you're developing something that is there, that has.
And it has some core values.
Yeah.
Like really core, like small scale farming. It's really hardcore, and it in a way it's similar to the values that we have in surfing, like underground, all that.
Yeah.
Grassroots.
Yeah, grassroots.
Yeah,
thing,
being a bit of a rebel also,
exactly.
just like saying fuck the system, and we're building farms and
and not like fuck the system on just to say it. But we believe in that stuff. So
and it's taking responsibility for your own joy. And like farming is taking responsibility for your food, but like you're not relying on entertainment to entertain you. You're taking that board and you're going on the water.
Yeah,
there's something about that.
Yeah, and then we'll get to know more of his story, Thierry. But just so you know, Chris, like of all the people that I know, he's probably one of the most intelligent person that you're also one of these in my mind, Chris. But when he say, we're saying fuck the system, but we're not just saying, we really want to do that. Like he means it. And living on an island, I think you can really see easier the problems perhaps, or everything becomes clearer. and the impact also
Yes.
becomes more obvious.
It's quicker.
It's quicker.
It's like a small laboratory,
Yeah.
like a small experiment. Yeah, and actually that's what's cool in terms of farming. But also, my previous job was marine biology, and it was the same. Like we have small ecosystems where we can see how things change, and it's not like big continents, overwhelming scales, small scales. So you see really what's happening, like from day to day almost. And
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Could we talk a bit about your background? Because I think that's one of the most interesting things about you, based on what I've just seen on your website.
Oh, yeah.
Was your story, and I think that anyone listening will really enjoy that. So I understand you were a marine biologist for a pretty long time, right?
Yeah, like 15 years,
And
almost 20.
And what did you study, or even what brought you to that?
Obviously surfing again. No, I was born in Morocco, started surfing there, grew up there, and quickly realized that the best waves are on coral reefs. And at the same time, coral reefs are an ecosystem that is so diverse. So the biodiversity is just through the roof. And so I studied university, did my PhD on the, not on strictly coral reefs, but in general, like nutrient cycling, all that stuff in the marine ecosystem.
Yeah.
So I have a PhD in biogeochemistry. And then after that, I did a postdoc, but mostly on the dynamics of reef fishes, like on reef fish, how they change with habitat change, with like global warming, which impacts corals because they die off from higher temperature and stuff like that. So most of I would say that 15 years after my postdoc were diving, seeing the reef, like collecting data, analyzing them, and like having students do the same work, and then gathering a lot of data and see how it would change through the seasons, the years.
Yeah.
And that's also probably why it was a bit depressing at the same time, because those ecosystems are dying slowly. And like you're coming year after year to the same place because you want some replication. And then you see those places just like getting worse and worse and worse.
And what was the main reason they were? Well, maybe not the main reason, but
There are several reasons.
Yeah.
One and several reasons which relate to different scales. Of course, global warming is a global scale,
yeah,
but there's also a lot of local impacts and mostly erosion. Like when you look at an island, there are reefs that are close to the island. We call fringing reefs, and then the lagoon, and then the barrier reefs that are like farther away. Those reefs that are close to the island, they get the direct impact from erosion, like sediments, and with that, pollutants like things,
All the fertilizers. also.
fertilizers, of course,
Yeah.
pesticides, all
Yeah.
the biocides that is used, not only in agriculture, but in everyone's yard, Because
do you feel like it's used excessively there, or kind of the same?
it's everywhere.
Yeah,
It's used excessively everywhere. Yeah.
But it was really conventional agriculture practices, and the erosion from that was one of the biggest problems. And I'm pretty sure that's what led you down a path.
Yep.
Can you explain a bit of that transition from marine biologist to farmer?
Yeah. So, like I said, it was. It's never only one factor that makes you take big decisions. That was one of the factors, like seeing everything change and degrade. And at the same time, like you're asking yourself, oh, am I just a witness, a spectator of that, or can I actually do something to change that stuff? That was one. Second thing was, well, I had at that time young kids, and I wanted to give them good food, like nutritious and not polluted.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, organic agriculture was like not something big. I mean, it's still isn't something big, but it's getting bigger.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was non-existent. That's another point.
Mm-hmm.
Third point, I was getting more and more responsibility in the institute. So I ended up being the associate director of the research institute, and so less field work,
Less diving.
Yeah, more administration,
Yeah.
less students, so less projects.
Mm.
And we were also living. I had to move to where the institute was, which is another island from where I live now, and I missed that my place.
Yeah.
So all those factors, I was like, okay, what can I do as like something meaningful, a solution
Yeah.
that I can like go back to my island and start. And it was like just natural. Okay, organic agriculture for sure.
Sounds a lot like you.
Yeah. Exactly. Came from the ecology, environmental
Yeah.
degradation, and wanted to have, and you met Modelen. She's very sensitive.
Yes.
Farming became a way of doing it, being the solution.
Yeah, even me, if I think about it, it wasn't so much environment per se, but it was just love of nature that drove me to farming, because I didn't know of farming prior, but I was really enthusiastic outdoorsman and outdoor recreationist. And when I saw farming, it was just an opportunity to be outside for life, not just as a hobby. And to actually interact and be a part of nature and not just observe.
Yeah. And it's funny how like you put one finger in it and then
Yeah.
You get sucked.
swallows you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just like compost. The soil just sucks you in and you're gone.
Yeah, I think it sucks you in, but you need to have some success. Otherwise, I know a lot of people that started farms and then, they got pushed out because there's like they burned out and it was just too much. But as you go on and tell us your history and your story, you started Vaihuti Fresh some years ago, and it's going to be interesting to evolve to the fact that now it's one of the biggest organic farms in all of Polynesia.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind as the story unfolds. It's like it started with something small, but it became not big, but it became impactful.
Yeah. I keep in mind that we are a small country. We're, like the market is 250,000 people.
Yeah.
So it's small.
Yeah.
So for that small market, it's a big operation.
Yeah. And everything is boat already. When people eat food in Polynesia, it's most of the food comes from Europe or elsewhere.
The US, New Zealand. Yeah.
So
it's important.
It's important to have farms
Yeah.
and to supply people.
And what's also a good thing is that COVID showed everyone over there, but including the politicians, that we needed to have autonomy or like be resilient in terms of food production. And so they realized it and they put programs in place in order to transition from like rice, pasta, it's all imported, to local food like taro, sweet potato, things that grow really well there.
Yeah, traditional food.
Food, yeah. And so we get a lot of support from these guys, and that's cool because you don't have to fight against them.
Yeah. You're getting government support from the local governments for the farming.
I want to get into the farm, but I want to preface it with saying, because we'll use this as a jumping off point to talk about everything about your operation, because it's really cool. I want to blend together three different things. One is that you are a permaculture teacher and you trained in permaculture with Jeff Lawton, right?
Yeah.
And you've also studied market gardening from him and with the Market Gardener Masterclass. So you have that training. And I think you're also pretty passionate about the actual traditions of where you live, the agricultural traditions of there. And I think what it seems like from the outside, just looking at your website and getting to know you, is that those three things blend together.
Yes.
And that is what I'm really curious about, all the ways they blend. Because that's interesting. There's a lot of people that are only in one of those things, but you're blending it all. It's really cool.
It's funny what you say, because actually, when one of the principles of permaculture is high yields at small scale, which is exactly what we do in like small scale farming.
Yeah.
Like market gardening is exactly that. And people tend to think that, oh, you're doing like market gardening with greenhouses and stuff like that, and that's not permaculture.
With plastic.
With plastic.
Yeah.
It is.
Inputs from somewhere else.
When you read actually the book, which is from Bill Mollison, the PDC, like the permaculture design handbook, it says clearly, okay, small garden close to your where you live,
zone 1
or zone 2, and then around would be zone 3 with fruit trees, or zone 4 with other trees, which is the case. I mean, in our islands is full of trees. So you clear a place and you do a small like market gardening operation, and you're in totally permaculture design, and people like forget this.
Yeah, that's the same as in our environment. That it would be forest if we didn't touch it. So we clear a little spot, we plant our garden, then maybe we have our fruit trees if you have like a full homestead, and then there's the forest.
Yeah,
but then there's products from that too, and like maple syrup.
So it's all actually permaculture or agro. You know, people like to fight on words,
labels.
Yeah, permaculture, agroecology. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you, agroecology?
Okay, I just said it's the same, but it's a bit different in a way that agroecology comes more from the Euro-America traditions, and permaculture is a full Aussie, Australian thing.
Yeah.
And permaculture focuses a little bit more on design. Agroecology, of course, focuses on design, but also on practices and stuff like that. It's mostly the same. Yeah.
Yeah. They're used differently though. Like agroecology is used in Europe a lot.
Yeah.
Organic farming also.
Which is totally different.
Yeah. We're not talking about the same thing. And then permaculture had, the golden age with a lot of people that were doing it, talking about it. And then it became a weird thing in certain circles.
Yeah.
Not everywhere, but in certain circles, it became like, are you a permaculture person?
I was a part of that wave because, I feel like around 2015 or something, seemed like maybe, or even a little bit earlier, felt like a height of permaculture as the buzzword.
Yeah.
And my farm like put itself out there as a permaculture place. But I mean, I don't know. To me, it's like they're just words, but really you're just doing the best you can to work your environment the best you can. And we all want to close loops. We all want to try to do good.
And we're all fighting the same monster in the end. It's like we're pickering between ourselves about this and that, but really we're fighting like a huge system that's.
But we need to have some design at some point.
Yeah.
And you're a permaculture teacher.
Yeah, I agree.
Design is like
everything.
Basis. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, a big part of our success at La Grelinette is the original design.
Okay.
With the barn, the washing station being in the middle of all the fields.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I Bill Mollison, you talked about him, and this his big book. That's the book that I read so many times, and that's where I picked up a lot of my ideas about how to design farms and organize things. And
that's the book that people should read, so that they can understand what permaculture is, and not those YouTube videos that say nothing.
I agree.
You want to talk about your farm design? Like, can you explain a bit?
Yeah, okay, sure.
Like from a pretty broad perspective, we can start. Yeah. Like, just how is it designed?
So I have 2 farms, and they're very different. The first one, chronologically, the one we started with, is on a slope with, I would say, 20 degrees slope with places that are level.
Terrace.
And then terraces.
You have like swales and
Yeah. And so we put swales on the slopes.
Contour, yeah.
On contour. And then we planted those slopes with fruit trees, and the terraces we used them to farm veggies, like to do, like even we put small greenhouses there, and so the design was really more complete in terms of permaculture, if you will. And the second farm is totally market gardening.
Okay.
Yeah, so very different. And the second farm is on flat land.
Close to home.
Close to home, very efficient. In terms of yields, is totally different.
Yeah.
Like we get probably 70% of the revenues on the market gardening farm.
Yeah. Well, I understand that like the first one is more quintessential permaculture, but are there ways in which you feel that permaculture is still infused to the market garden? Any interesting?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course, because we are planting hedges. Even like in between the tunnels, we're planting a lot of stuff. We're rotating a lot. We're in a forest.
Yeah.
So all around is a forest that we cleared in some places, but we left some other in there natural, like not natural because it's a secondary forest.
Okay.
All the water movements, the drainage, all that stuff was with permaculture design.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And you do hugelkultur, right?
Not
Or
in
like
the
the burying
sepulcher.
of not in the sepulcher
Not in
way,
the sepulcher, yeah. But we use beds,
yeah.
of course, and we try to have them the most permanent as possible.
But you did bury some wood, right? At
Yes,
least I
we
saw
did.
it on the website. Okay.
We
but
did that, and you know the how to say that, the trade-off
Okay. Yeah.
between the energy you put in building those hugelkultur beds and the yields. It's not worth
Yeah,
it.
it's not worth. You don't get enough extra. Yeah.
Yeah.
My own personal garden is hugelkultur beds, but that's just because I like it.
But also you're in a very different climate.
Yeah.
We don't have winter. We don't have the phase where you guys have all the fungi working on that wood. We have fungi working all year long, so it degrades like very, very fast, like way faster than where you are.
Interesting.
So we would build a bed, like hugelkultur bed, and a year after it was like down, and fertility was getting lower, like way faster.
It was the same as the other soil that you didn't do
Yeah.
hugelkultur on.
The recycling
wow.
is so quicker.
That is interesting. Yeah, I did it more as a means to like raise up the soil without needing more soil.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
like just a way to make, I mean, it's a home garden thing, so it doesn't really matter so much about
there's so many
productivity,
things
but-
that are so different from where you live with regards to farming. And it's not just warm weather; it's like cycling of everything.
Yeah.
Insects. Like when I was there, like I was blown away. Like, you know what their number one pest is?
No.
Crabs.
Wow.
They're just like everywhere, and they're kind of poking the veggies, and you need to build nets against them and
traps with traps.
traps.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
crab nets, but not for catching, for blocking plants.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd see like hundreds of these crabs trying to go into the garden.
Could be a selling point for an insect net. The holes are small enough to block crabs.
No, that's very different. We get like pigs, wild pigs,
Yeah.
wild chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
No deers.
No deers.
That's cool.
Yeah, we
That's
get
a problem
too
here.
much. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a problem here.
I know you're also really into a variety of practices, let's say, around soil, like biochar,
Yeah.
for instance, and just carbon sequestration. And I think there's research happening on the farm, right?
Yes,
Could you
yeah.
tell me about any of the research with some of those things?
So yeah, we started in 2017. So there was a EU funding that we applied for and got. and we had a program with a student from Germany, Miriam, and I told her, hey, I want to study how biochar can enhance production, and especially like how much, like quantify. So she worked on the farm for maybe 6 months, and we cut those big invasive trees, transform them into biochar, like charcoal, and then infuse them with compost tea, and then spread that 1 kilo per square meter in the fields with control blocks and in control impact procedures. And so it was well designed in terms of statistics. And then we'll analyze the data, and boom, 20% more.
20% more.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's it.
Do you think it would be the same here, or do you think it was also pretty specific to any hypothesis? Don't know.
You should try.
Well, you just said you've dabbled a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't have Thierry's rigorous kind of like I'm just kind of like I do.
When you're more throwing it in the compost, it's just like
but I think it's good to do real bench, to measure the impact. Yeah, like I'm not great at that. It's not my original. Like I'm more like I'll just spray the whole field, because if it works, I want it to work,
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Bootstrap Farmer. Bootstrap Farmer is an amazing company. It's focused on making high quality, durable, and ecological products for farmers and gardeners. They really stand out for me because, one, they manufacture their product right in the US instead of relying on overseas factories, and two, they're focused on durability and sustainability. This means no single-use plastics that you have to rebuy every year, and no cheap, flimsy metal that won't last. Their hoop house kits are among the best out there, made of super thick galvanized steel that will stand out to the elements and last you a very long time, I guarantee it. And their seeding trays are absolutely indestructible. Believe me, we did a test here at the farm. A car ran over the trays and they literally didn't even deform. On top of that, the Bootstrap team is passionately dedicated to seeing the farming community grow and thrive. And that really means so much to me. That's why I do what I do here at the Market Gardener Institute. So if you care about what kind of companies you support with your dollars, check out Bootstrap Farmer. You can find them out at bootstrapfarmer.com. Thank you, Bootstrap, for all you do. Love you guys. See you soon.
No, so we started with that. And then we stopped after that program. And 2 years ago, we started working on coconut husk.
Ooh, the coconut husk miracle.
And that's also going back to biochar, because how the coconut husk is, there's a part of it that's the shell that's really hard.
Yeah.
And it makes an excellent charcoal, like biochar. So we're going back to using that coconut shell for biochar specifically. And in the meantime, we've been working on fungi, mostly mycorrhizas.
Yeah.
And this is another topic that is really amazing. We did the same as we did with the biochar, like control blocks. Some were with mycorrhizas, some without, and all those control tests, etc. And again, 18% more production with mycorrhizas. And
how so? Like, how did you put the mycorrhizae in? Like,
so we have a reactor, which is basically what you use to produce compost teas with like air, like bubbling, like high pressure. And so we used a mix of mycorrhizae that we knew the composition, and then so we multiply them over 72 hours by a billion. And then we use that to spray or water those blocks with first the seedlings, and then we water them a second time, so we make sure that they get inoculated. And then we measure the growth, the size of the leaves, and the production per block. So blocks that are with mycorrhizas, without mycorrhizas, blocks that are with compostie, and blocks that are with compostie and mycorrhizas. So we have a control without anything, and then those 3 different treatments. And we did that on tomatoes, on cucumbers, and on eggplants, aubergines, eggplants.
Yeah.
And it would be great if you could add a block to do conventional chemical farming and test that too over time, just to illustrate how it's probably silly to do that. Like probably you get yield the first year and then the soil gets
on another farm maybe because I'm going to lose my certification.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, that's what Rodale is doing.
Yeah, Rodale is doing
that,
but yeah, they are.
but not as much on the smaller scale.
And I just feel that these kind of tests they talk a lot. Because it's like, okay, this is a real test that's happening, and if you do it year after year, then you really get some traction.
And actually, sometimes you think, oh, that you put a lot of effort in there, and it's like you're putting organic matter in the soil, and you're putting, so it's money. It's like a lot of effort to make compost, and because over there we don't have compost facilities that do compost, we do it on our farm.
Yeah.
So it takes time and money, but then you have to see it as a way to fertilize and improve your soil and your capital, because that's what it is. Your soil is your capital.
Yeah.
Right. And this has to get recorded in your accounting. And that's another topic that we're passionate about, is like having those things that we call 3D accounting or multi-capital accounting, that when you're a conventional farmer, you destroy your soil, you lose your capital because of erosion, and then health of people, like basically you feed them pesticides, right?
Yeah.
When you're organic farmer, you do exactly the opposite. And the difference doesn't make sense or doesn't appear in the price, the final price of the product. See, so conventional will sell lower, and organic will sell higher, but the quality is through the roof. And if like farmers could get paid for what they do to the environment and to the social and to health, then they could lower down their price of like the price of the product. Then more people would be able to buy it, right? So there has to be a way to incorporate that stuff into the accounting, so organic farmers actually get the benefit of what they do for the environment and for the health of our society.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like the inverse of negative externalities.
Yeah,
you know that?
exactly.
Yeah, like how conventional agriculture is not paying for the damage that they do, but then organic agriculture is not gaining from
exactly. And
benefit.
if they could gain, it would be beneficial for everyone.
Yeah.
And some people are actually working on that. They call it the PSE, like payment for service to the ecosystem or to the environment. And it's being implemented like in southwest France, I think. So actually farmers get paid because they put in place hedges, or they have cover crops, or they trap carbon and it's measured, so it's quantified, and then they get they get paid for that.
Paid for the ecological services that they create.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the future, especially with biodiversity. Making sure that with the UN, what they're trying to do now is push laws where everyone needs to comply with 30% biodiversity. That's a worldwide measuring, a KPI that's worldwide now. Is that we want to measure every nation, every province, every city, it's like 30% should be in biodiversity just to
Oh, that's good.
renature the place. But I think like that should be paid.
It's good that I didn't know that, because I often feel like we're too caught up in carbon as like the only part of the conversation when it comes to climate. But I always feel like biodiversity just doesn't get it doesn't get talked about enough in comparison. Because when I look, at least locally, I feel like it's one of the worst things is just all the loss of habitat and the lack of biodiversity. And you're really passionate about biodiversity, right?
And what you say is like really, really true, because it's the biggest problem. Actually, carbon and global warming is not the biggest problem. It's the loss of biodiversity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like ecosystems that can't function anymore, because this is going to be way quicker than global warming.
Yeah, that for me is much more scarier. And
Yeah.
I was telling you last night. I'm like, I don't feel that if the reefs are dying, if the ecosystems are dying, I think that's it for us.
Yeah, and you watch a David Attenborough, those last documentaries, and it's so depressing. You see firsthand just the loss of habitat.
Did you watch these?
Yeah. But it needs to be depressing so that we react.
Yeah.
And that's how more people is going to get into like small scale farming.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
You no.
Like, oh my
We're
God.
all depressed.
No, but
we're not.
it boils down to what Thierry's life experiences. He was witnessing, he was measuring the decrease of biodiversity.
Yeah.
That's what you were doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at one point you're like, okay, what am I going to do about this? Like, I'm going to, I take action. I start a farm. It's a positive project.
Mm-hmm.
I know also, like, we don't need to talk about that, or we can, but I know that they're replanting or recolonizing the reefs where you are, and I just feel that there's an energy to replace what was degrading with something that is, enhancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's positive.
And we need that, because if not, then
Yeah.
What's also
no future.
No
Yeah.
future. Yeah.
And you're not only revitalizing soil and an ecology. Something that's also really cool about your farm is that I feel like there's a degree of like revitalizing social and cultural aspects of like you're bringing back or giving some space or like a way for more. I don't know. Like, do you feel that way at all, or do you feel there's a?
Yeah, it's funny because we were talking about that the other night at dinner. There's actually, for a farmer, there's two things that are really important: is production and sales. Production is all those techniques and learning, basically, and training.
Yeah.
And sales is the other part, is like connecting with people, social interactions, getting together, farmers getting together in order to be like stronger in front of the big
Big ag
or distribution or stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you believe a lot in the cooperative movement.
Yes.
Is that something that's manifesting where you are on the island?
Yeah, we created the first cooperative last year. So it's for now it's an association.
Yeah.
15 farmers.
15 farmers.
And we have now, so we have a lot of support from the government to do that also.
Yeah.
So right now we have a facility with cold storage, like negative and positive.
Okay.
And it's right on the dock, like right on where the boats come from the main island and go to the other islands. So we can store our produce there and then send that back to whatever, Tahiti or Bora Bora, for people who know Bora Bora.
Yeah, Bora Bora is always gets the the like the whoo out.
Bora Bora Bora.
So we got together, and the plan is really to make a tool, create a tool that will help farmers. Because we're not supposed to put stickers on every cucumber. We're not supposed to package every lettuce head. We're not supposed to drive all the way to the supermarket and deliver. We're not supposed to, all that stuff that deals with commerce, with
distribution,
sales, distribution, all that stuff. We as farmers, we are way better in our fields, taking care of production. So when we get together like this, and that's the idea behind the cooperative, is that we're going to hire 2 people. One will be the one that does the sales, basically. The second one is going to be the one who's driving all around the island and collects produce from every farmer, does the packaging, and then also the cooperative helps us have some big machines that we use maybe once or twice a year.
That you can share.
That we can share.
Yeah.
All those small things that when you add them, it takes so much time for a farmer. And so it's going to be really a tool to
alleviate
all those burden. Yeah.
You say 15 farms. When you started Vaihuti, how many farms were there?
Organic?
Yeah.
No.
Like 0?
0.
So you were like among the first ones to start.
I was the first one to be certified on the island.
Okay.
And now there's more than 50, because 15 is only the farms that are in the group, in the cooperative. There's also probably like 30 farms there right now that are certified.
So so that's great. So you've seen the evolution of the movement and people starting farms and are you encouraged by that? What, going from 0 to more than 20?
It's great. And the greatest thing is that you see young guys and girls that are, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And the good thing about our island is that there's still some place, there's still areas where you can farm compared to Tahiti, which is a bit like congestion, a lot of people there. And government is like the Ministry of Agriculture is clearing some land, giving those plots to young farmers, but there's the structures to help them are not in place. So, and that's what we're trying to do with the latest projects that we have, which is a pépinière,
greenhouse,
nursery. And so like back in like 10 years ago, my dream would have been to like get on the phone and call the guy from the nursery and tell him, hey, next week I'm gonna need like 10,000 small lettuce to plant, and they would be ready by next week,
Yeah.
And so you don't have to invest in that nursery, all the equipment. When you're a young farmer, it's
a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's we are now offering that service, and that's because of the coconut thing, because we would import all the
potting mix.
The potting mix.
Wow!
And now you're making it, right?
Now we're making it, and so with cool. local products.
So cool.
Yeah.
Is part of that the hair from the coconut husks?
Yes.
I saw a video of them in a turner. Is that going into the soil mix, or that's just?
It's
going
the other
into,
part that's going in the soil. It's the peat.
The peat.
And the hair is making ropes, I think.
Hair is making ropes and mats to control the
weeds.
Yeah.
Nice.
Man.
Weed barriers.
Yeah. And the shell now is going to make biochar.
That's some permaculture.
Yeah,
that's
in all the
cool.
parts.
Cool.
Closed loops,
that's cool.
Circular economy.
That's a project that I first started with peat, with like replace the potting mix, and then it led us to so many different things from the coconut husk.
Yeah, because I remember when I was there, like people were piling them up and they weren't really doing it there. I think they were burning them. Burning them, yeah. Mm. And then you were saying, you know what? He told me, he said, I'll go and talk to everyone and I want to get these piles. And that's how it works. You see something, you operate a change. You
know how it started? It's actually a pretty funny story. We had about 10 years ago, we had a European program that helped launching organic agriculture in French Polynesia. And at the end of that program, we met with farmers from other parts of the Pacific, like New Caledonia, Samoa, Solomon Islands. And from the Solomon Islands, there was one old guy, wise guy, like Moses. Remember his name?
Moses.
Moses. Old guy, and with a lot of experience. And we're walking back from lunch, and there's a pile of coconuts, like coconut husk, on the side of the road, and he's like, "Oh," I see his eyes, like opening and looking at that pile. And he's like, "Why is that here?" And I'll tell him, "Hey, they're gonna burn it." And he goes, "What? That's our gold, We do the seed, we seed all our plants in that stuff." I'm going, "How do you do?" And he goes, "We let that seed forever. It degrades. We filter it. We get we how do you say, sieve it?"
Yeah. Sieve it, yeah.
And we get the peat, basically.
Wow.
And I go, "Wow, we're importing all that stuff." And you know that peat moss, like before it was peat moss in those mixes, but the environment where you have peat moss is very slow to recover and very slow to.
It grows here.
Yeah. And so more and more people are replacing that with coconut peat.
Yeah.
And so the peat the soil mixes that we got in Tahiti were coming from peat moss, from coconut peat made in the Pacific. They were sent to Europe, mixed with compost over there, and going back to our place. I mean,
yeah.
Come on.
There's something powerful about the island, because it's like you see all the nonsense. Really, it just feels like you can measure it more. It's like, okay, this goes there. It just like travels the world to get back, and then you act on it.
Yeah, because the global systems that work at least better in much more densely populated places and connected places just fall apart at that level. And then it like shows you how, not fragile necessarily, but just how it's not actually that great in the first place. Well, I guess it does show you it's fragile, because if the moment we're disconnected, suddenly you're not getting that thing from 3,000 miles away so easily.
Okay, so from the peat of the coconut, doing the math, doing the weed barriers, doing the peat moss for the compost, the seeding mix, and what else? Like you said,
biochar.
Yeah. And then opening a nursery where all of that's going to be there, so that people can have access to it, and have a co-op, so that everything is shared ownership or shared participation, and it helps all the movement.
Yes.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask about
sweet stuff.
So all these farms that are there now that are organic, is a lot of that, do you feel it was a ripple effect from your farm starting? Not saying to take all the credit or saying, but did it create some ripples, you think?
No.
Okay.
Nah, no, come on.
Hard to quantify.
Yeah. But do you at least feel like, though, that there's something in the buzz, of the culture, that more people are...
when things happen, is the environment is ready for it.
Yeah.
And then there's the spark.
Yeah.
The spark for a lot of people is JM. Maybe over there it was me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And was it also... has the local economy stimulated from all this, do you feel?
The local economy, like French Polynesia has a history that is a bit weird, because of the nuclear testing in the 70s, like 60s, 70s. And so a lot of money would come from France and be injected in French Polynesia. So there wasn't a need for agriculture, for local production. Everything was imported and a lot of money. And then that they stopped the nuclear testing. And with that, financial resources also diminished. And people started to, we need to produce. We need production. And I would say the biggest accelerator was COVID. Yeah. A lot of people realized that, hey, at least we need to do it in our backyard.
Yeah. So COVID marked a change in people's mind.
Oh, yeah.
Like we need to
Big
be
time.
self-sufficient
Yes.
and autonomous.
Yeah.
And that's at the policy and government level.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is something totally different. Like, let's say, compare that to New Caledonia, which is another chain of islands to our west, where they have nickel, the
Yeah.
production of nickel, and still a lot of money from that. And they don't feel, the government over there doesn't realize that they need to really produce and be more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So,
Has there been an effect on the culture and the community? Like, do you feel there's a small farm community kind of now where you are that maybe wasn't there before?
oh, it wasn't there. Yeah. So it's changing for sure. And the younger generation loves that also, because they see it as an answer to a lot of problems also.
Do you feel really moved by it? Is it a lot of
it's
beautiful
stimulating.
experiences? Because that's something we talk about, like where we live, we love the community.
Yes.
There's a lot of, you feel fulfilled.
Yeah. There's a lot of pride in being part of all that movement. A lot of joy.
Yeah, of course.
It feels like sometimes also like, let's say you're arguing or trying to convince a policy person or like you feel that what you're asking for is the right thing.
And they know it's the right thing.
So
Even if they don't want to acknowledge, they know it's the right thing.
they know it's the right thing. And that feels good also to push something that's going to be in the end better for everyone. Yeah. I don't want to say like too many people in kind of, I think in the woke community, they say you're on the right or wrong side of history. I kind of don't like that, but I kind of like what we're doing. I think it's pushing the right messages, and based in ecology.
Yeah.
It's based in ecology.
Like we said yesterday, there's physical laws that you cannot cross or you cannot transgress. And there's also biological laws that we work inside those boundaries of those laws. So, look at the soil, okay? Soil is what? In maybe here, 60 centimeters to a meter.
Yeah.
Over there in my island, it's like even narrower. It's like 30 centimeters or 60 centimeters. Without that small sheet on the surface of the earth, there's no life.
There's no life.
There's no life. Come on, you want to lose that?
Yeah.
You want to clear all the trees? You want to let the rain throw all that wealth into the ocean and lose life? Come on.
Yeah.
No sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's a big part of all of this is lack of, I don't want to say education, but people need to re-understand that this is this, this is that, and there was probably on the island before like traditional ecological knowledge that was there and that was protecting, especially the reefs for the fishermen and the fishing. And I wonder what happened at one point for this to kind of like go away. But I think you were telling me that they're protecting now the local fishermen are protecting the reefs so that. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So there's been in other islands in French Polynesia, like near Tahiti, there's been marine protected areas put in place, but it didn't really work because it came from the government, like top down. And my island now has more of a bottom up governance. So all the fishermen, they see there's less fish, there's less crabs, there's less resource in general. So they say, hey, we need to implement those protected areas. And they're starting right now, like five different areas on the west coast of the island where it's going to be like totally protected. And the government helps that with funding, with signs, education also. I'm still working on that actually, So, I never really left the marine part.
You just took a detour to fix it.
Yeah.
And so if they're protecting it, I guess they're also restricting certain agricultural practices that could damage it. Or is it like what are the?
Not yet, because it's hard to
go-
change things like against people's practices, and it takes more convincing. But what's funny is that when we got together in the cooperative, so now we're running the hub of storage for both organic and conventional produce.
Interesting.
And one of the biggest producer, like conventional producer, came and he said, "Hey, let's talk about organics. How'd you do that?"
He was interested.
He was interested. He was interested.
That's great. Yeah, if you can co-op,
it's
you can co-op conventional farming, that's a great way to do it. Instead of the other way around.
No, but we told them, "Hey, we cannot have you in the co-op because it's just organic farmers. But we'd love to have you with us."
Yeah, let's come on in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually something really important, that it's just like the same divisions that are ripping society apart, or like the division from conventional organic farmer. It's like we shouldn't be looking at everyone as villains if they don't do what we do. I think we need to think deeper. And
I think they're the first victims of the system.
Yeah, exactly. They're not the villains. They're just doing what they were brought up doing, or what they
or they're there's a lot of monetary incentives for them to not replace what they're doing. So.
And to just keep it the same.
And once they're in that system, it's so hard to
go out.
transition.
Yeah,
So
and
hard.
and you can't do anything overnight. Like you couldn't just stop conventional farming all across the planet overnight and expect like the next day to be perfect. Like it would cause a lot of problems at first.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what we depend on for I mean, it needs to change over time, obviously.
Yeah, but again, I want to come back to that island thing, because talking about changing the world, or it's a bit like when you look at the islands, like what can we do with the islands? Like there's like 8 conventional farmers. Could we migrate them in, or can we, it's kind of digestible.
Yeah,
I feel, and
you can imagine.
Yeah, it's a lab. It's the size, the perfect size. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we said, they want to do it.
Yeah.
It's just that they don't know. So education, training, and it's gonna need some like funding.
Yeah, because you can't transition overnight.
No.
There needs to be a period. Like one of the best systems that I saw in it was like we had peat from
Ubi yesterday?
from Ubi,
Yep.
and it was like a box scheme. Okay, and they wanted to really help organic farming, so they were only targeting farmers that were transitioning. So that was their main objectives. Like, okay, we'll buy from you guys. If you're transitioning in that period, we'll buy from you. And that was the incentive for these farmers to go to the organic, because that period where you're not organic, but you don't get the revenues from the organic, but you're putting the effort. It's this like the 3 years is hard. And
there needs to be funding
to help
to
transition.
To help transition and to help production, like producers that are already doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not going to be public funding.
Yeah,
Never going to happen.
You think it's going to be private money?
It needs,
Needs to be.
because it's quicker, more efficient.
Yeah.
And do you think that government money is a business model? No.
Yeah. That's a big question. That's a big subject.
It helps.
Yeah.
But
you know that in Quebec we pay 50% income tax on people that are above like, let's say 85,000 a year. So we're very socialistic in a way here in Quebec. Canada, it's a bit less, and the US obviously is way less. And I don't know how it is on the island. Is it
it's not as high, but it's still, there's a lot of social services, and it's good because not everyone can afford like a private insurance or private health care or whatever. But at the same time, you need to find a balance.
Yeah.
But like for farming, it's going to take way too long to rely on government funding. And yeah, we need to find a way to raise money, like private money.
Yeah, it's funny because I see a lot of that love money being spread around, but it's never around the projects that I know or the people that I know that are the real change makers. Like I'm really lucky because I travel a lot. I get to meet a lot of people that are doing awesome stuff. It's pretty rare that they're fully funded or they're backed by people that money. And I think in that marketing, eh?
We don't know how to market
perhaps
those projects.
Yeah, but they're the project, like your project is changing the islands. Like it, yours is part of something that should be. Anyway.
Yeah, I want to talk about education because it was brought up, and I was talking to you this morning, and I remember you said it all comes back to education.
Yeah.
The Market Gardener podcast is made possible by the fine work of the Market Gardener Institute. I started the Institute in 2017, and my objective then was to share a lot of the work that I had done on my farms, writing, researching, and to help empower and educate as many growers as possible. Fast forward all these years later, that's exactly what the Institute is doing. We offer online courses and resources to growers in more than 90 different countries. We have more than 7,000 students that have taken our classes, and it's making a difference. So that's really cool. If you want to get 15% off some of our select courses, it could be on winter farming, it could be on greenhouse production. Just use the promo code podcast15 and get 15% off. So now back to the show.
And I know that at your farm, you have a lot of education going on, I think in various ways. Could you tell us about some of the education projects that happen on the farm?
Yeah, so like you said, in a lot of various ways, like we have a lot of classes, like young students, high school, also primary school, come visit the farm. And so they see all the practices, they see how we take care of the soil, all that stuff. And then they go back to their families and their parents, and they're like, hey, let's do it in our yard, So that's so cool.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
High school has also, our high school has a few teachers that are really into like those practices and how they can link the farming to the food system and to what people eat. And so like last year, one physics teacher, he made a whole project, Heremona, that's his name, on how to cooking classes and going down all the way to the seed, you know what I'm saying? And all the steps. So they came, they visited the farm, and we explained them everything that we're doing and all that stuff. So that's more like the primary, secondary schools. And then we do a lot of, not education, but like it's a two-way exchange, with students, like higher college students. So they help us on our research, and we teach them how we do like all the techniques and so several levels of education.
And permaculture too? Teaching permaculture?
So I teach one class per year because it's like time consuming.
Like a certification.
A certification. So it's like 80 hours over 2 weeks. So 2 weeks away from the farm. So right now what I'm doing is I teach on the weekends only. Like 5 weekends would do the whole certification class.
Yeah.
But once a year, yeah. And people are like more and more interested in that.
They're showing up.
Yeah, they're showing up.
And you also have woofers, no?
We had.
Or you had.
We had. We don't not anymore.
It's hard to manage, right?
That's the learning curve.
Very hard to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the past, did you feel that was a part of the education? Like, yes, they're helping, but you're also kind of spreading the...
It's funny with woofers because you could have
any
very interesting people.
Yeah.
Very involved in the farm. And at the same time, next day would be someone totally different who would be there just for a couple nights in between like Los Angeles and and Sydney because we're right in the middle, looking for a place to stay.
An influencer that just wants to take photos with the crabs.
Yeah, exactly.
Wants to play guitar all day, like
Funny.
So we've had incredible people, incredible experiences, and at the same time, very deceiving ones.
Yeah, so it's hard to keep the program running.
Yes, yeah.
We don't do woofers. We haven't done woofers in many years. It's too bad because that's how we got a bit into it a little bit. So
yeah. So
well,
not anymore.
Yeah, but it's not a surprise. What about the workforce of the farm? Can you tell us about like employees and how that all works for you guys?
Yeah, so I have 5 employees, 6 actually with my assistant, and so they're permanent.
Yeah.
And then, well, that relates to education, but we have interns from training programs. So there's basically 2 main training programs in agriculture, 3. And so they ask us to do their internship on the farm. And so that's part of the workforce because those guys are already trained. I wouldn't say it's education because we teach them how we do it, but also they already are trained in their programs. So it's part of the workforce. So, but basically it's that we're 7 plus interns.
Yeah.
Usually it's like 3-4 interns per year.
And in terms of selling the produce, is like where does a lot of it go and who are you feeding?
Restaurants, supermarkets, and a little bit of like private consumers.
what's the number one crop that people buy more? Is it tomatoes?
Oh, tomatoes. Yeah,
tomatoes.
Sure. Tomatoes.
And lettuce or not?
And lettuce. Second.
Would lettuce mix work or not? People would buy lettuce mix, pre-washed.
Yes, actually, I remember the first time you came, you said, "Hey, do the lettuce mix, do the mesclun." Yeah, for sure. And it took us a bit of time
to convince,
not to convince, but to be successful at growing it.
Yeah,
because the weeds in our place is a big issue.
Yeah. Okay.
Big issue.
Wow.
We still struggle with it.
Okay.
But we have right now. So what we did is we sell to 4 restaurants. I made a mix, different mixes, like 5 different mixes, and told them, hey, here are 5 bags, try them, let me know which one you like. And they like mostly the same. And so we stuck with that mix. And now we're doing only that mix. And it sells great. Yeah.
Amazing.
And you know what's even more satisfying with that is the way you grow it. It's so I just enjoy the process of like direct seeding.
Yeah.
It grows quick. There's no diseases.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah, and all those small. You know that we use the 6-row seeder, like the Coleman.
Yeah. I didn't know that you're still using that.
We're using that.
And quick cut to harvest?
Quick
Or-
cut.
Yeah. The old school kind of
I just enjoy using those tools.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's just so ingenious. So it's
Yeah.
very, very efficient and simple, like low tech.
Yeah. Low tech.
But it's so enjoyable to use those. So I seed 1 bed per week.
Yeah.
100 feet, and each time it's on the weekend, so it's my thing.
It's
you know?
it's your little moment.
Yeah.
Oh man, this
I
is
love
great.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
I
Cool.
hear you.
And I understand why you said, "Do it."
Oh man.
Do you have a favorite way or like a success story of something you had to innovate and adapt to the conditions of your farm, like compared to just like the market gardening things you've learned?
Well, actually, JM helped me a lot on those points when he came, and from all the years that we've been like corresponding and exchanging ideas. But we have our own challenges. Like I said, like the weeds are a big problem. And you know those tarps,
Yeah.
the black and white tarps.
Yeah.
I bought 5 of them pretty recently, the thickest I could find. Some weeds are actually going through them.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, that's our challenge.
Because things
Some
like
of it.
things wants it's alive.
Yeah.
It's tropical.
It's tropical, yeah. And we have a lot of rainfall. We get some years we have 4 meters of rainfall.
Is it
4,000 millimeters per year.
Is
Yeah,
it
that's a lot.
considered a
That's a lot.
rainforest? The forest, or
It's yeah. It's tropical, but it's more equatorial than tropical. You know, it's in the middle of the ocean. Every time we have some certain winds, we get rain. El Nino, La Nina patterns are very, very pregnant. Like,
how does all that affect the watering on the farm? Do you have to water much? I mean, I know you were telling me before there's the dry and wet season, right?
We have 20 tunnels, and we have double irrigation on those tunnels. We have T-tapes
Yeah.
and sprinklers, like micro irrigation.
Yeah.
Permanent, those two. Like, because when you transplant, it's so hot, especially in summer. If you don't water them and from like overhead watering, they die. Like quick in one day, boom. If you just water with a T-tape,
It's not
happening. Not enough. So that's one thing that's very different to I think to here.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we use we plant crops that are very, very resistant in open fields, and we keep those tunnels for very specific, like 5-6 crops that we rotate. So mainly tomatoes, like high yield and
cucumbers.
Cucumbers. We do radish a little bit because we intercrop them with a mesclun.
Yeah.
Mesclun, we like the lettuce mix. We never do that open field. Never.
It's not gonna work.
The weeds are so crazy. Yeah.
Feels like an adventure to go there with your hoe.
Yeah. And it's hard for someone that's never like been in that to conceptualize it actually, because it is quite different. I mean, it's the same, but it's different in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And we did a lot of work on the selection of varieties.
Yeah, seeds.
That was the main work of 3-4 years. 3-4
because there
first
was no information to go off of, was there?
Yeah, there wasn't. And the good thing was that the U.S. has also Florida and Hawaii.
Hawaii, yeah.
So there were some varieties that we found there that did well in our climate. But most, like I tested 38 varieties of tomatoes. One did well.
Wow.
Whoa.
Have you been to Hawaii?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's could you compare like the cultural differences or some of the things that you see from French Polynesia with Hawaii, just like big picture, so that people can understand how these places are similar yet very different?
Hawaii is actually, there's so many different Hawaiis. Like Big Island, Oahu, and Kauai or Molokai would be so different. But Oahu, which is the big island, has the bigger number of people. It's very American.
Okay.
Like Polynesian culture has been lost, and so there are pockets of Polynesian like culture still remaining. Which is in French Polynesia, it's the opposite. It's very present.
Very present.
Yeah, the culture is still very vibrant. People celebrate each July for 1 month. The dances, the songs, all that stuff. Yeah, so it's there's some similarities and a lot of differences also, but mainly we are way less developed than Oahu would be.
Okay.
And in terms of climate, it's very different.
Very different from climate. Okay.
Yeah, because the islands over there are bigger, like higher, less equatorial, less tropical, I would say, less rain. The soil is pretty much the same. Well, our high island, because we have low islands that they are called atolls,
Yeah.
and the soil is totally different. It's from coral origin, so it's sandy, white.
Can you grow there?
You can grow there, and people like originally the ancient Polynesian were growing in pits where they would put a lot of organic matter and then grow in there. But the good thing is it's not as humid as the big islands, so there's less problems with pests, with fungi, and with bacteria, like bad bacteria, and less diseases. So actually, there's one island where they grow raisin, grapes, and they do wine.
No.
Yeah.
Nice.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's interesting. How is it? Have you had it? Is it a wine that?
It's pretty good. It's very different from a lot of the other wines that come from get imported.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and they're going organic.
Do they do a natural wine, or
No, not yet.
okay.
But they're thinking about like one part of the production is organic.
Mm.
Yeah, and they also have canes for rum, sugar canes,
Okay, yeah.
and they're organic also.
Yeah. There's a lot of organic products. Like we tasted. He brought a bottle of rum. I had the pleasure of tasting it last night. But organic, super high quality.
Yeah, like you open the bottle and it's like, whoa, you smell the canes.
Yeah.
You smell
It's
the
different.
sugar. Yeah.
Oh, nice. You're making me really wonder have you learned some very interesting things from the historic traditions of the place, like old practices that that you're now trying to use, or that you've learned from people? I'm really curious about that.
You know what's funny? I mean, it's just history. Bill Mollison, how he wrote his permaculture book. He's originally a marine biologist, and so he used to travel all around the Pacific and Africa and all that stuff, and he would record the old ancient practices, like farming practices, and that's how he came up with permaculture. He said, "Whoa, they're doing the same in the middle of the Pacific as in Indonesia and equatorial Africa, same practices," and so that's how he came up with all those, not ideas, but
Insights.
yeah. And so, of course, what they were doing back in the day, well, things change obviously with global warming, and climate's not the same and all that stuff, but there's so many things that remain. Yeah, it's a big inspiration, especially for traditional crops, for like legume.
French market
vegetables.
gardening is
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's different.
Yeah. And historically speaking, what were the islands very kind of hurt by like globalization and the different colonization moments in history? Like, was there a lot of ways in which the local?
Just look at the number of people that were living there. It went from several hundred thousands to a few thousand people.
Wow.
And then it's coming back, but they were hurt a lot by diseases, by well, all the things that go with colonization.
Mm. You talk about Bill Mollison. I don't think I've ever heard his story. Who was that guy? And obviously I've read his books, but I didn't know that he was. I knew that he was from Australia.
Yeah.
I guess that's pretty much it.
Uh-huh.
But he would travel and look at the knowledge that was there, and
He's from Tasmania originally.
Yeah, I believe
And
that's
he was a marine biologist, so he visited a lot of places all around the world.
yeah, he's dead now. He's
A
a few years ago.
few years ago. He got a post-death PhD.
okay.
I think
Wow.
that was University of South Australia or something. Maybe I'm wrong, but so they recognize his work. Yeah.
Yeah, a big contribution.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people took his playbook and wrote their own.
Yeah.
And do you have any favorite people that in the world of permaculture today that are still, teaching that you are really admire? Are there any particular?
Well, my two mentors, one is JM here, and the other one is Jeff Lawton.
Yeah.
So those guys are hats off.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I'd like to have Jeff on. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Super guy.
I used to listen.
surfer
I watched
also.
videos of
He's
him
a
as
surfer
well.
also? Good. We call it the Digging Deeper Surfing Podcast. Yeah, my surf needs to pick up though. I need to get in shape. And
Got to get over to Vaihuti Fresh more often.
There's no waves on my island. Sorry.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
No surfing
it's
there.
No surfing there.
Oh,
No,
because
off limits.
Yeah.
I see.
Bad waves. Heavy
Bad
locals.
ways, yeah. You go.
Sharks.
It's broken bones and blood.
Yeah.
How far do you have to travel to surf then? Just over to another island?
It's nice, small waves.
Yeah.
It's like meter waves. No,
No, but-
Chris, it's like mushroom picking. You
Yeah.
know, when there's a lot of nice mushrooms, where people don't really talk about it.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah, it's like
Same
that's
with
a good
fishing.
point.
Hey,
same
actually,
fishing, eh? Same
yeah.
thing.
A lot of limited resource stuff.
Yeah, les truffles.
Yep, truffles, yeah.
I planted some truffles here.
Okay, yeah. Wow.
Inoculated the
Wood chips?
not the wood chips,
Or-
but I planted an orchard, and so we inoculated with truffles. And
That's
so,
another domain, like
yeah,
fungi.
it's crazy.
Come
eh?
on.
It's
I want to ask,
incredible.
are you growing some, cultivating some?
Well, the soil fungi, yeah, for sure, but not to eat.
Not a-
We'd love
yeah.
to,
Mm.
but I don't know. Just before coming, my wife said, "Hey, go to the workshop on fungi." I'm like, "Come on, there's so many things I need to do on this trip."
Yeah.
But I would love to. Yeah,
Because I grew shiitake mushroom on
Wow.
logs at my
Yeah.
farm in the past. That was definitely my passion. But it'd be interesting to see what mushroom growing, especially on wood, would look like there. Because, I mean, the
Yeah.
climate is so different. Like,
Yeah, probably it works pretty
yeah.
much the same because it's humid and then there's the heat and then it's like
well, every time I shred some wood and let the pile sit for a while, then there's a lot of mushrooms like popping up,
yeah,
a lot of different ones. So
yeah that's
and are a lot edible? Do you know them? Like, have you
I don't
learned a
know.
lot about some?
I
of
know
them?
there are some that are edible that
Yeah.
does something to your brain, but
But you haven't learned too much about them
no.
over there yet.
No, I'm more into like those soil
Yeah,
fungi and yeah.
You
that-
think ramial wood chip, like we do here, is when you were talking about the mycorrhiza, I was wondering if ramial wood chip, if you think that's probably a way that we're accomplishing
we
that.
do that. We do that.
Yeah.
Also. It's funny because the way we do compost is, the lasagna technique, like
Yeah.
several layers. And then once the compost, after like 3-4 months is done, the compost pile has like settled down, and we filter that. And we separate the small, so we use a mesh that like 2 millimeters,
yeah.
and we separate the small fraction, from the. Basically, it's just wood, that wood has gone through the processing process.
So it's pre-digested.
Processing.
Oh, and I've seen people do this. Yeah.
And we use that for the trees. So it's a ramial, but that has been
Pre-digested.
pre-digested.
Yeah.
So I think it boosts our trees more than just ramial wood chips.
Yeah. No, and trees especially creating I think the word is the wood duff layer. Like
Yeah.
it's you need all that woody material.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's excited to plant trees. Last fall, I planted, I think it was 150 trees here
Whoa.
at this farm, at this new place.
Yeah.
And put a lot of wood chips on them. And it's going to be nice in 10 years.
Sure.
But
yeah.
yeah.
I'm planting an orchard this spring too.
Yeah.
That's the thing with trees, huh? You don't plant for you plant for your children.
Yeah. You've heard the saying. It's like
yeah.
the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The second best time is now.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
And that saying goes for more than just trees. It's like anytime you think you're too late, it's like a lot of times it's just, no, the second best time is now.
Yeah. Starting our podcast, that was pretty much our thinking. It's like, a lot of people have podcasts. It's like, we still want to do one.
Yeah, it's true. That's what we said.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
not many podcasts like this one, huh? on those topics?
I don't think so.
I mean, maybe there's some smaller ones that aren't too known or something.
Yeah.
There's more farmer to farmer, like just that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not going a bit wider.
Yeah.
So for me, like Thierry, I think like one of the important thing, like it's not about patronizing, but I like there's folks that are kind of my group of age, a bit younger, a bit older, that have been doing this for a while. And I want to hear their insights because I feel that there's something that has a lot of value there.
And it's gonna benefit like everyone. Like our techniques are different.
Yeah.
Those guys' techniques are different.
Yeah.
People that do sales, people that do like
Yeah.
whatever.
So it's
nurseries
a whole
and stuff like that.
ecosystem. Well, I think we'll leave it at that. Do you have any more questions, Chris?
Yeah, I would love to just do a little rapid fire to finish.
Boom, rapid
Ooh.
fire. Favorite part.
Not that rapid, but they're just interesting questions that don't necessarily fit in anywhere in particular. What book have you read multiple times, if anything?
The Permaculture Design Handbook. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, but this one probably I know like by heart is a Market Gardener.
Yeah.
Well,
And beyond those two, like one that's not necessarily just education, but something that's inspiring?
I love science fiction, like fantasy.
Which one?
There's one writer in particular, that's Jack Vance.
Okay.
Jacques Vance.
Jacques Vance.
Yeah.
Pas Jean Covici, là. Jacques Vance.
No. He's talking about one guy that's named Jean Covici.
Okay.
Jean-Marc, French guy.
French writer.
Yeah. That's
engineer.
Powerful stuff, eh?
That's so we just actually bought his. He just made a book, which is like comics.
Yeah.
Explaining global warming and all
Nuclear
those
power.
nuclear power and all that.
Nuclear power as being one of the solution to
Yeah.
the energy crisis.
Yeah, and this guy is very interesting.
Had you read Dune?
Oh yeah.
Was it? Is it
I
good?
read-
Was it a good book? Dune?
Yes. Yeah.
Good book.
Yeah.
Did you see the first movie?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yes. I'd love to see the second one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, David in the office was telling me about it.
Yeah, it's always when I talk about this, for me, there's a little bit of pride because he's from Quebec.
Yeah. True.
And,
Oh, you mean
and-
Denis Villeneuve? Or-
Yeah,
okay.
and it's just like I've seen this guy do smaller movies over 20 years, and now he's like making these amazing epic movies.
What was fascinating in Dune is actually how those guys use the ecosystem to survive.
Yeah,
And it's very similar to farming. I mean, they're doing things that you wouldn't think of.
yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating.
Recycling their
recycling.
their
Nutrient
sweats.
cycling is the basis of all
Yeah,
life,
this
right?
book has ecology
Yes.
all over it, eh?
And a lot of writers that do fantasy, that write science fiction, are really into ecology and studying how things work, and because they have to create their own world, and basically those laws, those physical and biological laws, they apply over there also.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Do you also think that story is really, really important in changing the world? And that's part of why these books are actually more than just entertainment, perhaps, that there are ways of
Yeah, it resonates
making
with,
people think about things.
I mean, there's so many things in those books, like democracy, and it's not only
It's not just Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It's not just like a
Yeah,
story of
yeah,
something happening. It's more profound.
Oh yeah,
There's Harry Potter fans banging the table. There's lessons.
No, it's Harry Potter is super entertaining, but it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say that it's a metaphor for something. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What advice did you hear when you were really young that you only appreciated much later in life?
never give up.
Never give up. Why is that?
Because you should never give up.
Well, no, but I mean, like, why do you only appreciate it now and you didn't appreciate
Because when
it
you're
then?
young, you just whatever. You know, it comes from elders, from your parents, from whatever. Especially
Yeah.
if you're in your teenage, you're a rebel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are there Is there a particular moment in life? Actually, never mind. That's actually kind of one of my other questions was, what's the best difficult decision you ever made?
Oh,
Or just one that sticks out to you? It's hard to decide, but
that
really,
one, changing, like resigning from my previous work and starting the farm.
It's a big leap of faith.
Oh yeah,
You had a good salary. You had you were established, credited.
yeah. I was doing what I loved. Good salary, good family, good place.
Yeah.
probably like a lot of pride too, social pride. Like you felt proud to tell people, not that you don't for farming, but at the time it was probably hard to let go of.
Yeah.
What do you do? I'm a marine biologist. Whoa,
Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah.
It
Plus,
can be-
probably with the wife, sometimes you're like, I'm gonna quit my career and have like when I start projects, my wife is like, oh,
No, on that one she was. Pretty
She was with
supportive.
you.
Yeah, she was.
Good.
Yeah.
good.
I feel like a lot of times if I ask that question, it's probably for a lot of people, it's decisions like that. It's like letting go of something that was very important, but only to move to something better.
With
And
the challenges and then obstacles that are there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why the first question comes into place. Like, never give up.
Never give up. I like it.
That links to another question. What advice do you give to people a lot?
Never give up.
Give up.
No, it's so true. I mean, you don't even like bad things that happen to you. Like I say, there's always two faces for a coin, two sides.
Yeah.
Things that are very negative could, in the long run, be so positive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So the people that, you're dwelling on, you're like, oh, that fucker, he screwed me over. But that brought you to perhaps the better place.
Yes.
Because that happened. So actually, you should be thanking that person
Yeah,
for
exactly.
fucking you over.
Yeah, like could you give an example? What's the best bad thing that ever happened to you? Or perhaps a mistake, like the best mistake, best fail.
probably like, we had a El Nino event with a lot of rain, and the farm just suffered a lot from that event. And I was like, okay, I have 5 small greenhouses. Let's go 20 big ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was around when I was there. You
Yes.
decided to just kind of like
Yep.
go all in.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, the obstacle is the way. It's just how it is.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wonderful. I think that's going to be, I'm good.
Do you want to, are we reading the question or
Want to
not?
read it? Do you know Charles Eisenstein, the writer? He wrote Sacred Economy or Sacred
okay,
Economics.
yeah.
We just have a quote from him that describing like a nightmare future of just everything on the planet being a bunch of concrete and animal crap and industrial park and all we eat.
At this point, why don't we just read it?
At this point.
Just read it and then we'll see. We'd like to hear what you
Yeah.
feel, what you feel when we read this to you.
Okay, then. So, imagine a nightmare world where the entire biosphere has been converted to a giant feedlot and industrial park, where we manage the planet like a machine with technological tweaks to its gross material components, where no species exists that has not been turned to human purposes. It is a world wholly toxic to life except within artificially maintained enclaves. It is a world of vat-grown meat, computerized hydroponic greenhouses instead of farms, algal pools for oxygen, carbon-sucking machines to regulate the atmosphere, desalinization plants, climate-controlled air-filtered bubble cities, and a planetary surface converted to one huge mine and garbage dump. In that world, human life becomes entirely dependent on technology as we retreat from the ugliness we have wrought into an artificial or even a virtual environment. Can you say this isn't already underway? This is not a world I would want to live in.
I think there's one thing that's really central and that's missing is energy. In order to achieve that, you need extreme amounts, like huge amounts of energy, and we don't have it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We would need like how many, like huge amounts of either petrol or infinite fission or fusion or whatever, some source of energy that can allow us to do that.
So you're talking
not
about
happening.
the technological future,
Yeah.
the bubble city. You don't believe in it?
Well, can you think about the amount of energy you need to do that?
Nuclear energy?
Well, I'm thinking more that what it's saying
we
is
don't have enough uranium or like there's a girl who, so it's in French. There's a podcast in French which is Think of You.
Okay.
They invite specialists in their areas of expertise, and so they invited already like Jean-Marc Jancovici, the guy we were talking about, who speaks about like global change and all that stuff. They also invited a woman who's a geologist specialized in mines, and she's like giving you all the numbers. If we want to transition from where we are now to a renewable electric vehicle stuff, and we're gonna need an amount of metals, of uranium, in order to like have the energy that is not on this planet. It's not happening.
well, that's kind of. I mean, at least usually we say that, and it's like it just sounds scary, but
It's like,
now you're like, don't worry, it's not going to happen.
No, but which means we're gonna have to decrease consumption,
Yeah.
like if you like it or not, consciously or prepared or not.
Yeah.
So the good thing would be actually to prepare for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to me, it's mostly about the fact that it's a future that you would not want to live in. It's like it's possible to live in a bubble and just feed yourself with lab-grown things, but would you want to? And I feel like all the time the big tech solutions, it's as if it's like, well, we can do it, so we should do it.
No,
it's
it's
like,
not.
well, no, but if
Not
nature
working.
is the one luxury that we can't
Oh, yeah.
afford to not have.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so complex. That's the beauty of nature. It's so complex. And
Right.
that's why, conventional agriculture is so simplified things.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a nonsense.
Yeah.
Nature is so much complex. And that's why a lot of people just cannot see how it works. Because if you don't study that for a long time, and you need to understand it's really complex. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
All the interactions is like through the roof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's systems, dynamic systems.
Yeah.
Yeah. The world really needs to have more people trained in ecology
Yeah.
running the show.
Well, it should be taught in like primary school. And you know what the good thing would be is that in ecology you have already mathematics, physics, biology, all the science, even like culture and social interaction,
Yeah.
all that stuff. It's in there. It's in ecology. So you could use ecology as a way to teach mathematics, physics, all that stuff, chemistry. That would be great.
I love it.
Yeah, I love
All
it
right.
too.
So let's wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you, Thierry, for talking with us. And,
Yeah. It was good to have
thanks
you, man.
guys. Yeah.
and where can people kind of find you online if they want to see more about your farm and know more? I don't know.
They can go to the website, but
Yeah.
Vaihutifresh.com. We'll
Yeah.
put it in the description.
All right.
we have a Facebook page, so that is more like
Yeah.
everyday things that we do, so they can go and check it out.
Yeah, because I enjoyed looking at the site and just seeing. I don't know, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
It's pretty
It's
cool.
cool. It's
inspiring.
Fun.
All right. Well, let's do it
Yep.
again, and hope you guys are well. Let's reconnect later. Okay, we're out.
Thanks.
Happy farming, everyone.
Hope you're enjoying the podcast. These are important conversations, and we're really excited to have them and to share them with everyone. You can check out the work that we do at the Market Gardener Institute. You can check out our website, themarketgardener.com. Our mission is to multiply the number of small ecological farms around the world. And we do this by offering training, online courses to new aspiring farmers, but also to seasoned growers. We're helping them take it to the next level. So you can check out the work that we do. You can follow us on social media. You can sign up to our newsletter to get a lot of freebies about gardening, farming, but also about how small-scale farming is changing the world. And that's really what we're all about, and that's really what this is all about. So again, super excited that you guys are on board. We are changing the world.